Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape!
We're going streaking!
Dave's Video Graveyard.
That guy in a little coat.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm not a smart man.
Shut up!
One tubby.
What's wrong with him?
My first thought would be alive.
Why so serious?
Wise man say forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hail to the king, baby.
Hey, Mom! The meatloaf! We want it now! The meatloaf!
Of all the radio shows in the world, this is definitely one of them. Dave's Video Graveyard on 100.5 WOWFM.
Okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. And if we're not back by dawn, call the president.
Another Monday evening here in beautiful Semaphore. It's actually surprisingly cold this evening.
Is it chilly out there tonight?
Joined once again by my fabulous co-host,
Fabulous. I like it.
the British
Fabulous.
Bulldog himself, Grant.
Yeah.
Dude, how you doing?
Good.
What's been going on this weekend? Seen any terrible films?
I have seen quite a few, actually.
Seen any terrible films called Jigsaw?
I did. Funny you should mention that. Is awful film.
Of all the films called Jigsaw, which I only know one, it's definitely the worst.
It's the worst. It
It
really
definitely is. Now, we got a very exciting Guest's Choice special on once again tonight.
Do.
We will be joined by local pro wrestler Jonah Rock, who's he's been warned to be on his best behaviour this evening because we are physically intimidating
I
him.
think we could take
So
him.
we'll just have to make sure that he keeps behaving. So we are joined right now by Jonah Rock, local pro wrestler, absolute monster of a man and of a wrestler. How you doing, dude?
Very good. I had a wrestling show on the weekend and I'm a little banged up. But apart from that, I'm doing well.
Yes, I do notice a few blemishes across the forehead there. How was your weekend?
Hectic. So we had a show that was 18 plus, and so the crowd is always a bit rowdy. It was covered in beer and blood. So
Nice. No, it
it's
sounds
a
like a
fun-
fun weekend.
It is a fun
So
weekend.
just a typical Saturday for a lot of people.
I wasn't even wrestling. It was just
Yeah.
beer and blood.
That was the Friday night and then Saturday night. So thank you so much for joining us. I must say, your list tonight, the 12 you've picked, is so varied.
It's interesting.
Some great movies on here, though.
My taste in movies is only matched by probably my taste in music. I just listen to everything, I watch everything, and I pick and choose random things. So I'm very random with the stuff that I like. So
Awesome.
it's interesting.
We're going to jump straight into your first choice. Now, one thing, when we were looking at your list, we were both convinced that you had picked the 2006 horror film from New Zealand about zombie sheep. So we checked with you tonight, and it actually turns out you've picked the 1996 film Black Sheep.
That's right. I'm a huge Chris Farley fan. So from SNL days, he was probably
he's a comedy genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It even translates for me with what I do in wrestling. So
Do you find yourself putting on small jackets all the time?
I have done it. A few times and done the little jingle, but yeah, I would use like his mannerisms, and he used to fall in tables a lot.
That's right,
those things. But yeah, I love the movie.
Sweet. It's also got David Spade. It was their second film together after Tommy Boy.
That's right.
Yes.
Which they're both fantastic films. I almost feel like Black Sheep was a way they're like, all right, that worked so well. We're going to do it again. And instead of it be about Chris Farley and his dad, it'd be about Chris Farley and his brother, who's running for, I believe it's for Congress, is it?
Yes, it's been years since I watched this, but that's so I don't know what I'm going to say about this one. I cannot remember it.
The first time I saw it, I think I borrowed it on VHS. It would have been VHS, and then I taped it from TV. So I watched it a fair bit when I was younger, as a teenager, a lot. I haven't watched it in a long time. But but I think it's a bit of an unsung hero in regards to the two. Tommy Boy always gets the notoriety out of the two, and that one always gets left alone. But I thought it was funny, and it has a scene where Chris Farley falls down a hill for
that's
a comically long time.
Yeah,
so yeah.
And doesn't he get his thumbs trapped in the boot of a car? I mean, is that
And the film actually ends with his tire stuck in an aeroplane.
Yes, yeah.
He takes off. And one thing I always loved about Chris Farley was he would give it anything. He'd do whatever you wanted on camera. He was fully, like you said, he was falling through tables. Every van down by the river sketch ended with him falling through something. He was so fantastic, taken way too early. And
definitely.
I know still to this day, whenever my wife says something that's like correct, I will say, like in Billy Madison, that was good, and take my shirt off, and it gets really weird depending where we are. I can't say too much more about this film. It's fantastic.
It really is.
I think a lot of good scenes in one movie that are funny, like the hill. There's also them two in a cabin. And it's almost like
with they've got to get a bat.
With the bat. It's just the little things they say in between.
That almost goes back to like National Lampoon's, like the very physical slapstick comedy.
Great Outdoors.
And let's face it, this was before the days of Chandler Bing. So David Spade was the original sarcastic douche guy in movies and film.
He was.
He has not moved on. I personally can't watch The Rules of Attraction because of him.
Well, that TV show, is that the TV series? I love it. I think that's hilarious.
He needed Chris Farley as a counterbalance because it was like,
he did.
And
awesome film. Check it out if you want a good laugh. I reckon.
That's it. It was
Beverly Hills Ninja as well. Wasn't that a Chris Farley film?
It sure was.
Wasn't it?
I can't stand by that statement to check that one.
Really? I thought that was hilarious.
I remember it was like after the actor that plays Liu Kang in the 2 Mortal Kombat films. He was also the ninja in that, and it's like, where are you going to go from other than Jungle Book? Where are you going to go from here? It made $32.4 million. It was a SNL film, so it was produced by Lorne Michaels. So it instantly got lumped in with the likes of Wayne's World and all the other Lorne Michaels films. I thought I really enjoyed it. There's, like you say, there's a lot of memorable moments, and I particularly remember when he gets sprayed with the fire extinguisher. It honestly reminds me of me with my kids when I say something wrong and they pick me up on it, and I try and tell them that that's not what I said, and he goes, "I said crud." Because David Spade, he goes, "I fell in some mud." He goes, "Did you fall in some mud?" And David Spade goes, "Yeah, and I'm going to be rich because I'm the first person to find white mud." I said crud.
I said crud or something.
And that just resonates because I'm a person like that with my kids. We are talking of Trey Parker and Matt Stone's Basketball from the year 1998. It was their third collaboration on film together. Obviously, they'd done South Park together and have basically been best friends and worked together for a very long time. This followed up the minor success of Orgasmo and one of my favourite films, which was Cannibal the Musical, the first, which has one of the best callback jokes in the history of film to me, is where when the guy starts singing halfway through the film, "Let's Build a Snowman," and does a tap dance, and then they shoot him because they're sick of him singing. And then right at the very end, where it's almost like The Thing and they're dying very bleakly, he goes, "Hang on, how did you make the tapping noise on the snow?"
Yeah.
And it's the most random. I loved it. Anyway, we're talking about Basketball right now. It's a film about two friends that have pretty much done nothing since high school. They really love shooting baskets in the backyard, but they hate all the other elements of basketball. They don't like running or anything. So one night at a party, they come up with a new sport called basketball, which is basically they just made up the rules on the spot. And the highlight to the film for a lot of people is the way you got to psych out the other team, which makes for some of the funniest and the most offensive parts of this film. So why did you pick it?
I picked it because it's a movie I've probably seen definitely over 100 times. It's one of those movies you can just throw on, watch it in the background if you're going to fall asleep, because I just know it so well. I'm a huge South Park fan. And to see them in person, I guess, when I was younger was great.
Oh, really? How did you manage that?
No, I mean on film. Sorry, I wish I met them in person.
I was going to say,
I wish I met them in person.
You're way too qualified for this show.
I haven't met anyone famous.
You know us two now.
Well,
that's all right.
You've done better than me because I totally froze when I met Russell Crowe. So.
There you go.
Oh, do you want to tell that story?
No,
It's hilarious. It's
sad.
such a
It
funny
upsets
story.
me.
He had a stare down with Russell Crowe. Long story short, he stared him down and Russell Crowe ran away.
There you go.
This guy in Burra, South Australia, kept staring at me coming across the road.
Yeah.
And I just kept looking, and he had a Sydney rowing team.
Sounds like
T-shirt
something
on.
he'd be wearing.
But it was way too the rest of the town. No offense to Burra, but everyone there was dressed like an episode of Country Practice, right?
Yeah.
It was like dusty hats, and they weren't wearing spurs on their boots, but it was the thing.
Yeah.
And this guy just had a freshly brand new minted tee, you could tell, with the high reflective yellow Sydney Rowing Club. And I'm like, big aviators. I'm like, this guy's staring, crossing the road, coming towards where I'm sitting with my wife. I'm like, do we know this guy? Because he's staring flat out at me.
Yeah.
And I realised that it was one of those stares where it's because I was staring. And I'm like, and so he just walked straight across the road, past us around the corner. And I was like, that was Russell Crowe. And my kids are like, who's that? And I'm like, that was Superman's dad.
Yeah.
And then my son's like, oh my God, it totally was. So we chased him and he was gone.
I
But
can't believe you saw Russell Crowe.
Yeah. You're
That's
lucky he
such a cool
didn't
story.
fight you.
Yeah.
Going back to Trey Parker.
he did throw a phone
fighting
at
around
me.
the world. So.
No, Tugger. But yeah, I was so torn when you said basketball because I really wanted to play the car changing lane song.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like all the little songs that Trey Parker does in either South Park or in the movies, and it's just him. His voiceovers are the best. Yeah.
South Park is one cartoon where I've actually watched every episode and everything they've had on DVD. I even watch it with the director's commentary because they are just two normal guys living the dream, making offensive, creative things.
It started in the college days.
Yeah,
It was
it's
like a little fun thing they were doing. And
they made
the tape out.
the Christmas Santa versus Jesus fight.
Yeah.
But this was fantastic basketball. It basically, 1998, I don't think there was anyone that hadn't seen it in my group of friends. It was made for a budget of $23 million, but only made $7 million, which blows my mind because
I can't believe that.
Word of mouth style. Maybe it was
you'd think every South Park fan in the world would have gathered and watched this film, but clearly, I don't know.
It was huge in 1998 as well. Even going to wrestling, I remember wrestling shows in the Attitude Era would have South Park T-shirts and signs in the crowd.
Well, one of the dudes in the Oddities had the South Park. Always wore the
Cartman.
South Park. Yeah. He carried a plush one. It's crazy. I want answers. Why this film didn't do so well, and Jenny McCarthy before she went super crazy.
Is it she? Wasn't Baywatch or something, was she? Yeah. She was Baywatch? Yeah, no wonder you remember her.
Yeah, well, she's she was talented.
Yeah.
She was very funny in the movie with all the innuendos that the other owner tried to say. Come clean my lobby. She's actually cleaning the lobby.
Could suck the chrome off of a toe bowl, and she literally does. It is quite a good film. Not one for the family, that's for sure.
Oh no, it's still got that R-rated South Park comedy in there. It's
definitely.
No, it's hilarious.
And
Squeak. Don't forget about Squeak.
Right,
He's one of the main reasons I love that movie. He gets shit on a lot, and it's fantastic.
They collaborated with him a lot. He was also in the other. He was even in the South Park Bigger Longer Uncut film.
Yep.
But I do believe somewhere along the way there was quite a falling out because he hasn't had much to do with them for a very long time. But
I remember he was the devil's boyfriend in an episode.
As himself.
But I don't remember him anything
that's been a while. So anything else to say about basketball?
I really like the bit where they're in the changing room and the turn around on the huge swings around. That's one bit that sticks in my head. Favourite bit, highlight of the movie.
Is it always scenes like that stick in your head?
That's a cracker where it swings around, man.
If I'd watched it at your house, would that bit have been all chewed up on the tape?
Just rewind every time.
I remember there was so many great psych outs in the film. We can't really talk about too many of them. But
he's got his wife on the t-shirt.
I remember and when Trey Parker's calling one of the other guys fat, he does Cartman's voice.
That's right.
And it was so oh my God. It was even weird to see him at that point doing the voice. Because, you know,
Like,
South Park,
actually seeing him do
to
it's
see
like,
him
what?
doing the voice, like,
Yeah.
oh, wow. Because you almost can't tell which one does which voices in their films.
Yeah.
And then something will come through.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's a bit where he goes, oh, because everyone knows Reema just cares about kids, but he does it in Mr. Garrison's voice. And I'm like, oh, my God. It blows my mind that film was a financial failure.
So,
Yeah.
Because
And
if I paid $1 for every time I saw it,
Yeah.
it would have made a...
more than 7 million. By now.
yeah, a lot more than 7 million.
I thought that basically, Paul, the sport would take off as well.
I was hoping you.
I'd
It should
play
be
it.
a
I
real
have heard
thing.
in the last 4 or 5 years, I know that there's a bar in Melbourne that plays it, and
There you
there's a
go.
bar
Oh,
in
that's cool.
Brisbane that plays it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it right now.
I-
Start a team. Let's
I
start
just
a
need to
team.
learn to shoot. I need to learn to shoot because I feel like I was born to do the side out. Just be a terrible person, and you get your way in there. So that's your second choice on tonight's list. We might move on to something a little less upbeat tonight on the Graveyard, and we'll be right back. So the film that you've picked next is Donnie Darko.
Yep.
Jake Gyllenhaal's big breakout film.
Fantastic.
Other than Bubble Boy, which I absolutely love that film.
I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
Why would someone... It's so good.
Really?
It's so
Okay.
bad it's good. It's from the same style as Dude, Where's My Car?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's a bit of a road movie. Danny Trejo's in it. It's worth checking out, but not.
Maybe I'll watch it.
I think
Maybe.
you should.
Maybe.
And
It's a hard maybe.
Not my fault if it's not good. Made for a budget of $4.5 million, which you wouldn't even get posters for a film printed at that price these days. Went on to only make 7.3 mil, but it's still a profit, and it went on to get a cult status.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's a very confusing movie, though.
Well,
the first viewing I thought it was really confusing.
I pretended to get it the first time. And it wasn't actually till I talked to someone that I believe got it that they explained it to me. There are about, similar to Blade Runner, there's about 10 different cuts of this film.
Yeah.
There's one that's a lot more linear and made a lot of sense. One thing I found really funny, this was Seth Rogen's first feature film.
Yeah, I
that he
love
was a
that.
part
I
of.
love that. I love young Seth Rogen being in it. Yeah. Obviously, when I first saw it, I didn't know who Seth Rogen was, but watching it back,
I was like,
is
hey,
great.
there's Seth Rogen in the background.
Yeah, there he is.
So why did you pick this film? It was one of, sorry, I just read. It was one of the last films that he released on VHS.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
I think I chose this film, again, I've seen it a lot of times. When I was a teenager, I started watching different films, not just, obviously, what was popular. And it was something that me and my best friend at the time both rented at the same time and watched, and then tried to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right, yeah.
So, and I just liked the whole feel of the movie, like just how it's shot, Jake Gyllenhaal's character, everything about it. Frank is an
the
interesting
rabbit.
thing. That's the rabbit character. So, yeah, it's one of those things. I think every time I watch, I pick up something new.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. It's a confusing film, but it's just so watchable. It's a great film. It's well shot.
It's
really
almost
it's
like
got a bit of,
That's one thing. Like, I know a lot of people saw Inception and didn't get it.
Yeah.
And they let that ruin the film for them.
Yeah.
I find
It's
Donnie
the same
Darko is a
with
film
this,
where even if you don't get it, you enjoyed the trip. It was like, wow, that was different.
It almost reminds me of like an 80s film, like along the lines of like a E.T. or something, like, because you can just follow those kids in school and them.
Oh, even
story.
particularly, I find
obviously much darker, but
when Donnie's riding his bike, particularly through like the forest and stuff, that reminds me of the very Spielberg suburban look that he was always going for. Both films with Drew Barrymore.
Oh,
maybe it's a sequel.
No one ever will know.
So really, it basically follows the story. 15-year-old Donnie Darko struggling in class, struggling to figure out where he fits in the world, and then it gets thrown into some time paradoxes, some time travel, and then it gets confusing. That's the best way I can sum up the film
that is
for you.
quite a hard film to explain, isn't it?
It was shot over 28 days, which is the setting of the film is 28 days itself. So obviously, it's Frank is the not Frank.
Frank. Yeah.
Frank tells him that the world's going to end in 28 days, which is the sequence of the film. That's how long it took to film. And one thing I read when looking at the production notes yesterday was it was written with Vince Vaughn in mind as Donnie Darko. That would have been so bad.
That would not have worked at all.
Let him ruin other films, not this one. And I would have to say, for an indie film, I reckon a huge part of their budget would have been spent on the soundtrack, which is flawless.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic soundtrack, yeah.
Definitely.
And surely Patrick Swayze. Maybe he would have took up some of that budget.
I
don't know.
It's the first time that he basically broke basically
nice guy.
typecast.
Yeah.
He played a very sinister character.
He was, yeah.
And I will never, ever watch the sequel. So
Oh, I watched it.
I can't watch
It's
it.
awful.
I can't
I did
bring
not know
myself.
there was a sequel.
Yeah.
Why?
It's the sister,
about
right?
his
Yeah, it's his
sister?
sister, but it's
Yeah.
not, what's her name?
Is Maggie in
Nah, it's different.
It's the
actor.
younger sister that was in Sparkle
Oh,
Motion.
is it the
Is
younger?
that
That's
what
it.
it's based
I'm
on?
pretty, I can't remember. It was that
Okay.
bad. I
I
wasn't
think
even paying
it is,
attention.
yeah.
But yeah, it's not a very good
I would
film.
watch a film about Sparkle Motion, not about, you know.
Yeah, I can't bring myself to watch it. As soon as I saw there was a sequel and what it was
Yeah.
about, who was making it and stuff, I'm like, nah, I can't. Can't do it.
This film I'm very fond of, and I put it in the same part of my mind as The Butterfly Effect.
Yeah.
It just has that... It's really... Everyone that watches it probably perceives something different from what they see, but fantastic film, like we've said. And it's very bleak. You feel very weird after watching it.
You don't know how to feel.
Quite depressing ending as well to the whole thing. You're sitting there like, oh.
Yeah. Poor Jake.
Yeah.
Was this Patrick Swayze's last film?
I want to say it was definitely close to being one of his last films. I don't know if
Yeah.
it was his last.
2009, and the film
surely he did
was...
something after that. It was in a TV series as well.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
9 years is a long time for a Swayze to not
It
dance.
has to be his most prominent film before he.
Definitely.
Nice.
Other than that, the truck movie with Meatloaf in it called
Which
Black
one's
Dog.
that? I don't think I've ever seen that.
It was going to be like his big next thing, and it's just basically him and Meatloaf had a fallout, and they both drive trucs. That's pretty much the whole film.
Wow.
It sounds good.
5 stars. Did you?
What?
I can't remember.
No,
can't remember what I was going to say.
No, I didn't.
Good cover art for the movie as well.
Definitely.
I think I had a poster of it. I could be wrong. When I was a teenager, I had lots of posters on my walls.
I'm really surprised that the costumes of Frank weren't a more prominent. You know, like Harley Quinn is now the go-to costume. I'm surprised Frank didn't get a bit of love back in the day.
Well, people do the grey hoodie and skeleton thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
they do that.
the cool
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the iconic look of Donnie Darko.
It could have been the year it was released. Maybe people had the Frank masks. I don't know. We have to go back and Google it.
Have to buy some. We don't Google anything here on the Video Graveyard. We remember everything that we're talking about.
Geniuses.
So while we're talking about very bleak and downtrodden films, we might move on to our next choice here on the Video Graveyard. Dave's Video Graveyard. It is a guest choice special. Joining us this evening, Jonah Rock, local pro wrestler now. Grant,
Yep.
picture this: you're in the wrestling ring somehow.
Me, right? Yeah.
You're first to the ring. You've walked out. The crowd have finished booing. Jonah's music hits. He walks down the aisle. You look at the man. Look at what a monster he appears to be. And then you realise that he's picked the Breakfast Club.
I'm like, we're best friends.
You guys would just sit in the middle of the ring and watch this film together and spoon, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us about this film.
I think Breakfast Club is obviously a classic movie, but it's one of those movies I think teenagers can watch in any generation.
Yeah.
So since it was made, obviously I was born late 80s, and I would have been early 2000s a teenager, and I loved it. And I think it's still today teenagers could watch it and relate to it. And
yeah, you really can. Yeah.
It like at the time it was such a breakthrough thing, but
Yeah.
if you look at it now, it is almost like a custom built set text for a high school class. Like it really, it just covers all the bases, all the themes, everything that you want. It's been copied so many times, never done as well. Made by John Hughes, who's we realised during that song is responsible for pretty much every film we love.
Yeah.
It's got what do we got? We got the Jock, played by Emilio Estevez.
Yep.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Classic.
Molly Ringwald is the new girl.
The prom queen. And all
Nah,
that.
she's like
the
popular
one.
one.
Yeah.
Popular one. That dude in heaps of movies that no one cares about.
Anthony Michael Hall.
Yes.
I really like Anthony Michael.
Me too.
I liked him.
He made me cry in this film.
What's that?
He makes me cry.
Yeah,
when he's talking about his flare gun, the flare. Well, it turns out it was a flare gun in the locker, but and because he couldn't get the
classic
the light
American
to turn
school.
on. Yeah,
that's controversial, but
it says a lot about you as a person.
But he's great.
He got to me.
Yeah, he's for a long time. I never knew he was the boyfriend in Edward Scissorhands. But he was older and he was bigger, and he actually went from being the nerd and became the bully. So in his career,
he played record producer Mutt Lang in the TV movie of Def Leppard, and I loved that. And I was like, no one else here is famous. What are you doing? It's iconic soundtrack, iconic film.
Judd Nelson
is the bad boy who. It's funny, whenever you talk about this film, people always go, all right, what character do you relate with?
Everyone says him. Everyone does the fist. Freeze frame.
I'm clearly Molly Ringwald. It's not just because of the Rang connection. There's other reasons.
What are the other reasons?
Because I'm the popular prom queen. I was prom queen at my school. Yeah, I just did not expect this film from you. I almost thought you might take this opportunity to... build a bit of a psychotic rep for yourself.
No, I'm a big fan of obviously not just John Hughes, but just 80s movies in general. I think there's just a feel to them. I watch it and I can. I don't know. I wish I was older and born younger.
That's exactly what I think.
Yeah.
Like, you wish you were
in the 80s.
Around this year when these guys were around.
It would have been
Me
great.
Too.
Maybe, I don't know, maybe Australia wouldn't have been the same, but an American school in the 80s.
I just didn't move on. And I'm still like, one day it'll happen. One day I'll get the call up to be on Amazing.
I want a varsity jacket. I always wanted a leather jacket, and not just one to buy now to be cool, but like
you wanted to be that popular high school jock.
Yeah. I was pretty sure that. Well, as a kid, my main thing I took from film that I was going to do, I was going to grow up, have a leather jacket, and smoke because of Danny Zuko. I'm like, then all those other things in life don't matter because I'm just going to focus on doing those two things. My amazing asthma stopped me from ever smoking, but I got a leather jacket, so I'm finished. I'm pretty much done.
Life complete.
That's it.
Grease is not on my list, but I will let you in on a secret. I've seen that movie hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a secret love of mine, Grease.
Would you like to sing a song for us right now?
No. Definitely not.
What if the threat of violence from Grant was put on the table?
I'll take the violence.
It looks like you've taken a lot of violence this weekend. Yeah, not too much more you can really say about it. It's the iconic... It's probably the archetypal 80s film. Got, the likes of Josh Schumacher's St. Elmo's Fire and stuff. They tried to, recapture what was good about this, but I don't think they ever did. And plus, Joel Schumacher went on to make Batman and Robin, so it doesn't matter what he did. He's disqualified from ever getting credit now. One thing I loved about this, I was reading up on it and stuff, and I rewatched the trailer just to refresh myself. And I just love how it was back in the days where film trailers just straight up told you what the film was. It wasn't.
This is it.
This kid's a this kid's a that. They're all in detention on a Saturday. Yeah,
they learn everything about each other. Yeah. Well, that's what's great about this film, though. That's the whole concept of it. Being in Saturday detention and
gives you closure.
To learn who each other is, and
but you find out that who you perceive them as isn't who they really are, and they just cling to that idea of identity, like pro wrestlers that love John Hughes.
I always want to know, after detention, did they all go on to be friends, or did they all go back into their cliques?
One thing that sticks in me with this film is, when you go to maybe it's when you're younger, you go to a wedding, maybe 16 or something, go to a wedding or a family thing, and you meet someone there, another person, you hang out with them, have the best night ever, and you're best friends for life. And then the next day, it's just back to zero. That's what I always think about this film.
That's
I'm
what it was,
you know that they wouldn't even acknowledge each other in the hall.
Well, they say that in the film, though. That they're
they do.
There's no way you're ever gonna, say hi to him, and when we're back on Monday or whatever. But that makes me sad.
It does. I like to think that they all became friends. And, hung out at the arcade
Breakfast
together
Club forever.
Forever.
You guys, I'm just feeling the romance blossoming.
Me too.
I'm sure we'll finish the show. You guys are going to walk out into the park. We're
gonna
one fifth.
Yeah, definitely.
Freeze frame while I drive off, and the credits will roll. While we're on the feel good films theme, we might move on to our next one.
Yep.
Yeah, a big choice of last week. Why don't you tell us why you picked the 1978 version of Halloween?
I think it might be very close to being my all-time favorite movie. So I'm a big horror fan. So last week would have been good if I was here. But
yeah, where's the invite?
That's on you. That's not on us.
I should have just came.
If you knock on the door, we're not going to say no. Go away.
I should have knocked on the door with the Michael Myers mask.
Oh man, Dave would have screamed like a little girl.
Found our new home.
Yeah,
we're living here now, guys.
Something I think it's the suspense of the movie.
Yeah,
is what got me. So like Michael doesn't have to do too much, like his character doesn't do too much throughout the movie for it to play out all the way till the end, and then
so
you have all
perfectly
the
crafted
stuff.
It?
Yeah.
And we spoke a little bit last week about this. Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, they don't feel like they take place in the world we live in.
No.
To me, Halloween always felt like, particularly my hometown, it just felt real. It was set in such a real location.
It's a real nice, well-respected looking suburb. Living on this psychopath's walking around.
Haddonfield,
he's behind the trees, behind the bush. He's cruising down the road in his car. You're like, man, this is freaky.
And see, that was the one thing, like, I always liked with Halloween, which we spoke also a little bit about. It's a killer that goes crazy for no reason at all. It's not to do with his upbringing. There's no reflection. He's got a good family.
So effective,
and that is really effective. Whereas, you know, when Rob Zombie did the remake, he's like,
they made it.
Here's why he is like he is. It's like, no, you didn't need that.
Nah, he was supposed to be, you know, if you watch like the second one and the third one, Loomis explains he's just the spawn of the devil. Like he's just terrible. Like, it's nothing to do with his family, anything, and you know he just really wants to kill Jamie Lee Curtis,
who managed to retroactively come back. Which
that's fantastic. That's great.
It's 2017, and I'm excited for a Terminator sequel and a Halloween sequel.
That's right. There's another one coming in there.
Yeah.
Ooh. How old is Michael Myers under that mask now, though? Jamie Lee Curtis is pretty old. Certainly Michael Myers has got to be a pretty old fella.
I don't know who they'll cast as like the Michael Myers in the new one they'll make, if it'll be the old guy or if it'll be someone different.
I don't think it will matter.
It doesn't matter because of the mask.
As Busta Rhymes isn't roundhouse kicking in the face, I think it'll be a winner.
Yeah. Oh, it wasn't that one terrible. Was that Resurrection or Homecoming or something?
Resurrection,
Oh, that was awful.
He roundhouse kicked.
Yeah, he did. I mean, it did do, I think maybe they were trying to do with the whole black person doesn't die in a horror movie, but it was a bit too much him just being like, roundhouse kicking him.
Oh, yeah. I still enjoyed it.
I liked it, yeah.
And it was right at the height of like what the internet might be able to do soon, so that's why it was the reality streamed thing.
Yeah. I also like to think with the Halloween movie, it's very simple, just him in his overalls or whatever they are, and a knife.
Yeah,
scary enough.
William Shatner.
Exactly. It was the William Shatner just painted white.
And
which is scary looking.
It is. Yeah.
You've mentioned also a big part for you, Grant, is the fact that he can stalk during the day and be very effective. The amount of times he's just standing down the end of the street.
And he's just out during the afternoon or after school when they're walking home. He's right there. It's really creepy. It's not just nighttime when these scary things happen. Yeah, and that's why it was pretty scary to me. Yeah.
She looks out the window. There's the sheet. He's behind the sheet. And he's not there. Yeah.
It's freaky.
Just runs quickly.
That's what they do that in was it Scary Movie?
Yeah, Scary Movie.
Just jumps behind the tree. It makes you wonder. Surely that's what they must do. As soon as they look away, they're just like, hop out of there.
Or it even makes me think of when you walk down the aisle of a grocery store, at the same point. You went to the aisle as the person next to you.
Yeah.
And you do 5 running steps.
You're
then you walk the last bit to act like you just beat them. Surely he does that behind trees where he goes behind a tree, runs about 10 steps, then just slowly comes out again. Surely that's how it happens. I think it would be a completely different film if they showed
how nimble he is.
But it was at a time like the 70s, it didn't really rely too much on the gore side of things.
No.
any side of that. It was the tension built up and the darkness, the use of darkness in this film of nighttime.
When it just appears like...
Oh, it is so creepy.
Shadow, you just see that white mask appear and it's really scary filming.
And the theme that you played is just iconic. Like you hear it and people get scared when they hear that music. They're like, oh, freaks you out. I love it. But it is. I really like it.
I get so on edge for that thing.
Yeah, you do it? Yeah.
I remember Linkin Park used it as a sample at the start of one of their Transformer songs, and it was upsetting. It's like, what are you doing?
That doesn't work at all.
Put that down. Yeah, so Halloween. So you'd say, of the list of films tonight, would that be at the top?
It's either this one or the next one that we're about to do. So
wow. Wow. You and Grant have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Dave's Video Graveyard. Did you just sigh?
Oh, well, it's that song. Every time I hear that song, I want to watch this movie again.
Yeah.
Every single time. I watched it again
cool
recently, not too long ago. I just can't get enough of this film.
Yeah.
This is a great choice.
Yeah.
Sorry,
thank you.
Do you want me to get the pen for you guys to write a love letter to this film?
Yeah, we'll write the love letter together to Ryan Gosling.
Shall we tell everyone that doesn't know what the film is?
Yep, go on then.
2011's film Drive, starring Ryan Gosling. Thankfully, it's not The Notebook, which I did see you swap out on the list.
Yeah, it's going to be The Notebook.
I like The Notebook. I'll go on record and say I like it.
I don't know.
It tells a nice story.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
I don't know anyone that saw this film and wasn't blown away by it. Depending it be the style, the violence, or just the style of storytelling. I think recently watching Baby Driver, I think that borrows heavily from the vibe of this film.
Yep. The whole concept of this film is great. Ryan Gosling is a mechanic / stunt driver for the movies who moonlights as a getaway driver.
That first scene, the opening scene with him with the getaways.
The camera stays in the car the whole timeline. It's just suspense instantly built up from the start.
That's what got me straight away. As soon as I started watching it, I was like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got a real man crush on Ryan Gosling too. So
same. Yeah.
First reason I watched it is Ryan Gosling.
It's funny because you told me that.
Something about him.
No,
it really is.
I only recently watched what's the one with him and Russell Crowe you told me to watch?
The Nice Guys.
The Nice Guys.
That was good.
Fell
as well.
in love with him with that, and then
that
retroactively fell in love with him with everything. Because to me, a long time, I was just like, why has he got so much forehead? Yeah. Once I moved past, he's got so much forehead. He's got a lot of forehead. But I also loved those Vine videos of Ryan Gosling won't eat his cereal.
That was so good.
That was beautiful. And the guy that actually made them sadly passed away. On the day that he did, Ryan Gosling actually posted a video on his own site of him eating cereal as like I'll finally eat it now. Which I'm like, love stories like that. It shows what a cool guy is. This film is something different.
It's not an action movie. The way you describe it sounds like it would be an action movie.
No, it's almost
so different.
It's almost like an old school thriller.
To me, it's got that sense of dread, similar to like. It's nothing like the film, but No Country for Old Men, where it's just you just have an uneasy feeling the whole time that something's not.
Even those 60s, like the old Clint Eastwood movie, like he doesn't have a name; he's just Driver.
That's it. Yeah, there's Colin Driver in this,
which I thought was fantastic. That he's just you don't really know anything about him.
Doesn't say much in the film, even. Just a few words.
Yeah, but he's a hero. Like you just grow to love him and like the love story and stuff. And
that's it. The film opens. So the first half of the film is. I guess a crime drama with a love story in there, and then it takes so unexpectedly such a violent turn. If it really becomes a revenge movie from the last half, but it's so good.
It's very good.
Well, and it gave to me, even though it's quite 80s in its style, it had a very 70s, like you say, revenge feel to the whole thing, where it was like before he was doing it as a job. But now, halfway through it becomes personal, and that's why he's doing what he's doing.
Ultra violent too, man.
Yeah. Really, and I think it would be one of those movies come another maybe 10, 15 years. There will be scenes that are iconic, like him with the hammer. Things will just be like, obviously the jacket is already iconic, I think.
I know this loser guy that actually bought that jacket.
Oh, yeah? What's his name? Is he a real Ryan Gosling fan? Does he have an English accent?
His nickname is the Shittish Bulldog.
Oh, wow.
That never picked up. That would be great. Christina Hendricks is in this. I'm a huge fan of her.
Yep. I wonder why.
just big personality. She's not. Bryan Cranston was in this.
Yeah.
Which that
He's fantastic.
He's great in it. Yeah.
Similar Godzilla fate, but I did not expect it.
And Oscar
Albert
Isaac.
Brooks.
Oh yeah,
for Simpsons fans.
Yeah. Ron Perlman's in there.
Yeah, Ron Perlman. Yeah.
Oh, it's a great cast in this film, and it's just.
I'm just thinking, like, you've got massive stars playing very small roles in this film, which it doesn't take away from anything, if that makes sense. Like, you could have had anyone play half the characters in this film because a lot of it rests on the shoulders of Gosling's portrayal.
And obviously the soundtrack, amazing, synth fueled soundtrack.
Yeah.
I really like it. And I think it's obviously for you guys to know, but like in the scene of wrestling, it's a very popular movie. A lot of wrestlers I've met love this movie. My good friend Mikey Nichols, who's in NXT at the moment, he's a huge Drive fan.
Name drop.
My good friend Joey Janela in the States, huge Drive fan. Comes out to Kavinsky. Yeah. I'll keep name dropping.
That's what we're here for.
So I think if you haven't seen it and you're a Ryan Gosling fan, definitely watch it.
Even if you're not a Ryan Gosling fan, like if you just watch this film without a doubt, it's but you just got to watch it to see, and it is brilliant.
It was made for 15 mil and went on to make 78.
There you go.
And that's massive.
Love it.
Yeah, not much. One thing I'd like to touch on, the next film from the writers and the producers of this, which was Only God Forgives. You guys were huge fans.
I like it.
Yeah, I really liked it.
I couldn't
Director
stand
teamed
it.
up with Gosling again and made another. And I don't know how you describe the film, but I really enjoyed it.
I think you would describe it as like almost like a Asian revenge film.
Yeah.
If you watch any of those Asian revenge films.
It's a revenge film with it's a bit of a difference. Ryan Gosling, the lead character, and he didn't really want to get revenge, did he? Something his brother does in the film that we won't really. It's a bit maybe too violent to talk about. Really, but Ryan Gosling sort of, because he just didn't approve of his brother. Yeah, he doesn't really want to get revenge, but he's forced into it by his
crazy mum.
His crazy mum.
Yeah, that stuff
pushes him into the getting the revenge. And, but he gets his butt kicked a fair bit in this film.
Yeah,
it's not like
some
your
weird
typical
scenes
revenge
in there.
movie. Yeah, it's such an unusual film.
One thing that really surprised me as well, like set in Bangkok. You get all the Aussie bogan tourists that go over to places like this. I was so surprised to see his family were like the American bogans living over in Bangkok.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's not just an Australian thing. It's like
worldwide.
Yeah. And if you like your cinematography here as well, then Only God Forgives is another great one. There's a lot of red and blue in this. It's just really appealing to look at.
I will not take away from visually, this film is fantastic. It's so sleek, but a lot of the neon lighting and stuff, which was in Drive as well.
Yeah.
It's very iconic. I did like, the police, I think it's the commissioner or whatever he is. The way he forgives when he finds out that one of the people that tried to assassinate him is the sole carer of the handicapped person. He basically gave mercy to him and didn't kill him because of it. And I was like, wow, that was a cool element.
He's an okay guy.
Spoiler alert. And then the next minute he's got knitting needles, and you're like, hang on, maybe
cringe seeing that one. Yeah, 'cause this is just as violent as well.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I am a fan of violence, but no,
that's
not real violence.
Yeah,
to a degree.
Makeup effects in the movies, it's genius.
Yeah,
like when it takes a team of makeup artists to make it look like someone's lost an eye or lost a limb or getting the head blown off or whatever. It's really genius how they do it.
Yeah,
and it's intriguing to look at, but if you see it in real life, it's pretty messed up. Like,
real life may be different, but
when you watch it in the movies, you're like, wow.
Yeah, I love gore and horror and stuff.
I will watch the most visceral, gory horror movies and switch over to like someone getting like something removed on unless it's embarrassing bodies, because
Do you watch embarrassing bodies?
I
can't even like glance at that, man. It's just not.
I just think those people on embarrassing bodies, like, what are they thinking? Like, everyone's going to watch it. Like,
I love it. TV. They must be, because I think it's that you get free treatment if you sign the waivers with the show. But it's always like someone will be on there like, oh, I've got this rash. Oh, okay. Then the next person will be like, oh, I tried to cut the sesame seeds out of my nugget pouch. Why? What are you doing?
But then they signed a waiver. I've never thought here. Tried to cut the sesame seeds out of my nugget pouch.
We've all thought about it.
I don't know what that means.
we might move on that point. So definitely check out Drive. That's the
definitely
choice. I was going to say I want a bit of Ryan Gosling's nugget pouch, but then I changed my mind. And said it. There you go.
I was going to say, how do we go for that? This is Dave's Video Graveyard. Busy talking here on the Graveyard.
True.
About a film we're not even up to. Yeah. So into it that I totally forgot to remember on not looking it up. I totally forgot to remember the next film that we'd be covering.
Yeah, I know what it is.
1995 film starring Brad Pitt.
That old already? Wowee.
It is.
The first time I watched this film, it blew my mind.
And it's my favourite performance of Gwyneth Paltrow, particularly the last 10 minutes.
Right.
That should be all her films should end like that. But anyway, we're talking about Seven, which not sure how much longer you can hold this film in review with everything that's going on in the world.
That's unfortunate.
Very sad.
There's
a lot of big A-grade movies that are going to be tarnished somewhat by the actions of certain things, but why'd you pick this?
Yes, can't say his name.
We'll just call him KS.
So disappointing.
I chose this again. I think it was one of those movies I watched as a teenager, and I didn't think of obviously the ending, the twist. I just didn't see it coming, and then the whole 7 deadly sins and stuff. I just thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
And Brad Pitt, I think, gets lumped in similar to Ryan Gosling, where people just think he's a
pretty
good-looking fellow, and they forget that he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah, right.
I thought Brad Pitt was great in this movie.
Definitely.
Yeah, and had great chemistry with Morgan Freeman. Yeah, too. Is a great film.
Is there some controversy around Morgan Freeman still? I think a couple of years ago there was something weird with him.
What did he do?
I think he hit someone when he was in a car and he was with his mistress. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, don't be spreading rumors about Morgan Freeman, man. He could be listening. You know, he got magical powers. He knows when people are talking about him.
I'm pretty sure there was. I think now very controversial movie.
To me, one of the main controversies surrounding this film is that David Fincher made the third Alien film.
Yeah.
So that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
His time will come. People will be like, hang on, you made that dog alien movie.
Yeah.
And he also made Fight Club, so he redeemed himself a little bit.
Another good Brad Pitt performance.
This film, I think all of us in this room, we were too young to see Seven in 95.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw it around that time. I definitely wasn't old enough to see it when I did see it. Yeah. It resonated very strong. Like, say, the twist is unbelievable. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kevin Spacey, who, you know, he'd played bad guys in a few things, like I think it was Usual Suspects, a few other things. This was the film where he just was so cold and calculated.
Yeah.
It made serial killers cool again.
Yeah.
There was actually a very, I hate to say, a copycat film of this, but the film Copycat was so similar in style to this film. I absolutely loved this. And, as I said, it's awesome with Gwyneth Paltrow.
It's such a dark, gritty film.
It is, yeah. The first time I watched it, I actually was a teenager, and my friend just said, watch this movie. I was in JB Hi-Fi not long after, and I just bought it on a limb. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I bought this movie.
Yeah, sure, man. It's
very good.
So for those who haven't seen it, it's basically two detectives. One's just moved to town. Brad Pitt, Mills' character's just moved to town. Yeah. Put with the old weary Morgan Freeman character. And basically they get set on this John Doe character that's the serial killer. Yeah. He's basing all his kills off the 7 deadly sins. He's up until that point done 5. So they're basically waiting for the last 2 to take place. And the way the film is all tied together is unbelievable.
And for, horror fans, the kills are very
visceral.
Interesting. Yeah, and then I almost feel like Saw definitely had some inspiration from 7.
Yeah, for sure, man.
With the whole, why people were killed and whatnot.
Definitely. Yeah. It was only just like while you were talking then, and I realised it's definitely a big thematic inspiration of Saw, because it's some of the kills where he didn't actually kill the people himself. Yep. He forced them to.
The one where the guy just eats. Eats himself to death.
Yep.
It's a pretty.
The guy has to cut off his flesh. He has to get so much flesh. And I won't say too much.
Feel good. It's a feel good film.
Hit of the summer. I
Feel
think
good detective film.
Now we can pretty much roll straight into the next choice on the list because we completely forgot to put it on the physical list. But you did mention Saw.
Yes.
We totally left that off the list. Good one.
Ooh.
Someone that's not me.
I didn't read the list tonight.
Yeah, no, I did. So Saw, just going off this page, a saw is a tool consisting of a tough blade. I did this exact same thing last week.
Do you have to write Saw movie or
Saw film?
I can't believe you're actually Wikipedia in this. Do you already know things about?
Yeah, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
So did you saw Jigsaw?
Yeah, Jigsaw wasn't good.
I can't.
Man.
I mean, I really like the Saw franchise.
Film.
At this point, I'd love to spoil it for everyone just to stop them from seeing it.
Yeah.
But you do have to see it to appreciate why it's bad.
Yeah. That's actually a good way to put it. Watch it to see why it's so bad.
Yeah.
That is a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
This film made $100 million.
Yeah.
Made by basically two dudes from Melbourne.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, it's so awesome that basically it's set up their is it Twisted Films? I think it is
Twisted Pictures or something.
Twisted Pictures,
the whole
which
concept of this film is
went
great.
on to just be a massive franchise like it is now. But I don't think anyone was prepared for the first one when it came out. It was so. This was before the days of like Hostel and all the visceral, basically gore for the sake of gore.
Yeah.
This was done in a way where every on-screen kill had a reason. Everything was so visceral, but
it wasn't as bloody and gory as the sequels got. The sequels were eventually just all about killing people in the most brutal ways and showing as much as they can.
I definitely think the first one's the best
film.
And
like we spoke about with Seven, one of the main driving factors from the original Saw was that Jigsaw didn't actually do any of the kills himself. Yeah. He put people in situations where they had to do it themselves.
Give them a chance to get out, but you had to realise the error of your ways, I suppose.
And there's the big twist at the end, like Seven as well, which I didn't see coming at all. My wife, Paige, told me about it, and she's like, "You won't guess the twist," and I was like, "Yeah, I will."
Your jaw's just on the floor. And you're like,
I definitely did it.
Yeah. It would be definitely up there with my top favourite film twists.
Yeah,
because you're almost. It's a film where. For me, I pick a good twist by how angry you are at yourself for not picking it. This is one where it's like right in front of your face and you still didn't get it. And I
want to say, being a big horror fan, James Wan, who's who directed it, his stuff now that he's doing, I think, is great for horror movies. So the Conjuring movie, I thought made ghost movies cool again. I was close to putting Conjuring on the list, but I didn't.
We spoke quite in length last week about The Conjuring, and I never made it to part 2 because part 1 got under my skin. It scared the crap out of me.
It was a breath of fresh air for like you said, for ghost movies.
It made them cool again.
Done so the jump scares were actually effective.
Yeah.
What they actually touched on are things that you're scared of when you're a kid, like you're feeling something touch your leg or
just the little things,
something behind the door in the corner of the room, and it's really scary. It really is. Yeah,
he has a great mind for like he's making almost similar to, I guess, like the Marvel universe. These characters in Conjuring, Insidious,
Insidious.
It's like
Annabelle.
And they're all in that same universe. So like, there's going to be the Valak movie coming out soon, which is The Nun in the second one.
No thanks.
No, you gotta watch, man. It is just as scary.
Yeah,
some pretty some of the jump scares in the second one.
He made Furious 7.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, which is
did he really?
which is strange. There you go.
He's doing a Mortal Kombat movie as well, I think.
Yeah, I heard that.
In Mortal
That'd
Kombat,
be so good.
The guy's clearly got the talent to do whatever genre he wants, man. He's a master of horror.
And he's also directing Jason Momoa's Aquaman.
Look at that.
There you go.
Wow, he's moved
Mortal
on from
Kombat
horror.
reboot. Can we talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, I've been waiting for a Mortal Kombat reboot for a long time.
Yeah, it's needed. It really is needed, isn't it? I mean, the first ones they're all right for a laugh. All the originals.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked the first one when I was younger.
Yeah.
The first one was like, oh, this is cool, getting to see Scorpion in a movie and stuff.
Video game characters in the movie.
I feel like when you're making a film, you have to break some ground for it to become a franchise.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything he's touched has become a franchise.
Yeah. The cool thing, going back to Saw, like, I remember when I used to go see it at the movies, it was every Halloween. So it had like a gimmick that Saw is every Halloween.
This one did as well.
Yeah, but obviously not very good.
You're so I can feel you.
It's so depressed about it.
I can feel your silent. I can feel your silent anger across the table.
I was so disappointed, man. They called it Jigsaw, so
and
here I am thinking, they've done something special with this one.
Yeah,
they've brought back their franchise, but they haven't called it Saw 8.
No,
they're gonna get something, a little bit. Just
the Jigsaw Killer. He's the whole reason of the movies. Like you want to see.
Yeah, but just the whole film itself. It's slack. It's pointless. It's they pretty much do the same thing, or they try to do the same thing and lead it to a twist ending that just has nothing to it. I almost fell asleep watching this. I was like, man, this is a bad film.
That's no good. I mean, the Saw movies do chronologically get worse, I think, as they went on. Yeah. Like the second one was pretty good. The third one was okay, and then it just went.
And then they even did a 3D one. They started doing them in 3D. I was like, man, come on! They're just literally taking money off us now.
Like I said, I feel it changed focus. Like you said, at first it was how clever can we be, and by about the third one, it was like what's the most gross, the most gross trap you can have.
I think James Wan wasn't a part of it after the second one. I want to say,
you can.
So, and that makes a big part of movies. And Lee Wannell, who wrote the first one. So as soon as you get the creators not involved in it,
and they just hand it over, and
that's when you get Mortal Kombat Annihilation.
Yes. It can't be as bad as the Street Fighter movie. So
hey. Bit of respect for our Kylie. Bit of respect for our Kylie. We might move on to the next film, which I'm sure no one's actually seen. It's a bit of an unknown classic, I think you'd call it.
I've never seen it, I don't think.
No, you haven't seen it?
No.
I was going to say, Jesus. I'm leaving.
We're here with Jonah Rock. This is Dave's Video Graveyard. So the next choice is the film Reservoir Dogs from 1992, which put one of the greatest directors in the world on the map.
Mr. Tarantino.
It was Reservoir Dogs. Why did you pick this feel-good family film?
I chose this one because it's my favorite Tarantino movie, and I think Pulp Fiction gets too much credit, and this one doesn't. So I always go on a limb with people, and I say that I'm like,
something's wrong with Jonah's mic. It just turned off when he said that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of like the whole cast. Obviously, the cast is great.
This is one of the coolest movies ever made.
Yeah, really I like heist movies as well, and I like, obviously this is a heist gone wrong.
Well, this is the be-all, end-all.
Yeah. The fact that you'd actually see the heist on screen, though. It's sort of the before and after, and you'd actually see a heist. Is brilliant.
I don't think the heist in this was topped until, it's just my opinion, until Heat.
Heat's
I think that was the next heist film that was massive, but this was... It broke the rules, but also wrote some new ones. I thought it was fantastic. Michael Madsen is an absolute psychotic person in this. Actually, is the fictional brother of John Travolta's character from Pulp Fiction in this.
Yeah, I think Vega
Brothers.
Yeah,
because they were going to make a Vega Brothers.
That would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been really cool.
But now it would have just been about them getting hair treatment.
Doesn't work now.
Just walking on a treadmill and taking like osteoarthritis. But yeah, this film, not to give too much away, but the first time I saw it, Tim Roth, something happens to his stomach, and he spends the whole film crying and screaming and bleeding. I'd never seen anything like that on film.
Me either,
which it almost took it to this real place where it felt like you would actually seen that happen, because it wasn't one of these films where someone cops a bullet and they they shake it off and they power through. This was screaming and crying and dying for the most of the
agony is in there.
And it was like, now it is such a cliched film because every film copied something from this.
Yeah.
But it was basically who's the undercover cop is the underlying story of the heist, because the heist goes wrong and there's no way the police could have known that it was happening, but they do. So the whole film you're trying to figure out who is the policeman in the film. And made for a budget of $1.2 million, made two at the... That makes no sense whatsoever to me.
Yeah.
Well, it only made what? $2 million?
Yeah, not much.
It basically doubled.
I guess at the time,
doubled its budget.
Tarantino wasn't a name, I guess. So
yeah.
Well, at the time, I think he'd only written True Romance.
Yeah.
And then this was his first directorial debut. Followed it up with Pulp Fiction. That's a pretty strong film there. My personal favourite's True Romance out of the three, but yeah.
Stevie Buscemi's in this movie though, so
great
that's
as
why
usual.
It's the best one.
Oh, the whole casting is a great.
Does that mean that you give a lot of the later Adam Sandler films credit?
I do. I really do.
I enjoyed both the Grown Ups films. Just
yeah, so did I.
I'll get kicked off this show, but just putting it out
Steve
there.
Buscemi has both his arms broken in one of them.
Yes, and he goes down a flying fox. It's feel good classics.
Yeah,
the grown-ups movies.
Yeah, I can't say no to an Adam Sandler movie.
I'm the same. I even watched the one where he's the agent that he recently released.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was right.
He made one called The Cobbler with
that
was fantastic.
Yeah,
but because he was in it.
Or something, is that the
because
one?
he was in it.
The twist.
It was great.
Yeah, very good.
But everyone saw it and went, "Oh, Adam Sandler's in this. I'm not going to bother." It actually had heart for one of them.
There's a new one. It's not one of his films though. That's just out on Netflix now with him.
Is that the
Hoffman.
stories of?
Meyerowitz. I think it's
the
called.
Meyerowitz stories.
Yeah, and he's like he just acts in it, and I think he's a good actor. And so is like Ben Stiller's in it as well, and he shows like a lot of emotion in the movie. And I don't know. People just like to poop on old Adam Sandler these days.
I'm one of those. He annoys me, man. He really does. He just
Billy Madison,
that annoying
forever.
scream he does in every film he's in. It frustrates me. That's My Boy, I thought was hilarious.
I love That's My Boy. Yeah,
I am constantly trying to explain to people how good that film is.
Yeah, I almost put that on the list. That's My Boy because it has. I'm a big fan of.
Funny.
Yeah, big fan of Sandler, big fan of Sandberg, and they're both in it. So I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
Well, it absolutely bombed, and I'm like, I don't care. I love everything about this film. Love the soundtrack. I love that Vanilla Ice is in it.
What's his name?
It's really offensive.
I can't remember his name. The guy who played Rocky's son in Rocky Balboa. That's My Boy is the military guy.
Yeah.
I thought he was great, and he's got so beefed up for the film as well. It's not the kind of film that you usually have to commit to getting that beefed up a comedy, but I was like,
and then he just plays like
a
sorority boy in like Grown Ups as well. With a blonde mushroom cut.
Yeah.
There you go.
We're talking about Reservoir Dogs.
Yeah,
we're talking about Vanilla Ice.
Back into it. It was Tarantino's first film that used a lot of his favourite plot devices, being the non-linear storytelling, which became super famous.
Yeah, so cool.
All the realistic dialogue, basically talking about pop culture and
catchy,
just
cool dialogue.
The scene opens. Well, the whole film opens up with all the heist members in a diner.
So
arguing
good.
whether or not you should tip and why you should tip. And Buscemi's like, no, I don't tip.
There's some classic lines like that, like when they're all sitting there and he doesn't want to be Mr. Pink. Like that stuff always sticks in my head. Like it's such a serious movie, but you still have those bits where you're laughing. Like, fantastic. Tarantino always delivers.
Oh, he really does. I can't wait for his next film as well. Apparently, it's centered around the Manson family.
Is it still going to be his final film?
I don't know. I hope not. Didn't he say he's going to settle on 10 or something?
Yeah, which this would be his 10th film.
Would it?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
You okay? You going to be okay?
Not at all.
Jonah will give you a hug.
Yay.
Well, going from there, we might head into a little bit of commentary. Comedy.
Yep.
This next film's about commentary. I'm very excited. This is Dave's Video Graveyard. Jonah's next choice from 2007. It is Superbad. One of the most I was not ready for how filthy this film was when I first saw it.
Funny.
Now it's kind of the average of what you get for a teen comedy. This was super offensive. Like if you look at films that like we saw in high school and stuff, the likes of Not Another Teen Movie and stuff that were dirty. But this was just every line was like quotable offensiveness. Yeah. And it was fantastic. I loved it.
I've quoted a lot of those offensive things a lot of times. I had just finished high school in 2006, so this came out literally the year after. I wish it came out earlier, so I was still in high school. But I think it's similar to Breakfast Club, but very different. That all teenagers can relate to.
It's the coming of age thing.
Yeah, I love coming of age movies. They're very good.
This one is like, but usually coming of age, it's like, I'll let my teenager watch this too. Yeah. This is on me like, nope, it's not really like this. And then it's like, yeah, it totally is. Everyone's got a story of their first time underage drinking,
trying to buy alcohol. Yeah, so that's basically what this film's centered around, isn't it? They're trying to buy alcohol to get to a party. And they just
Mick Lovin is a hero.
He went on down to be in your favourite and your least favourite action.
Kick-Ass. Then Kick-Ass 2 as least favourite.
Yep.
Yeah. Red Mist and Kick-Ass. Love that film. Favourite of all time. Can't believe it's McLivin. No, the second one was terrible, man. The second one was awful.
Yeah.
We won't talk about it ever again.
And that's the thing, like, it's written by Seth Rogen. He actually wrote it for him to star as the main, as basically Jonah Hill's character. By the time it got greenlit and Judd Apatow said he'd produce it, he was way too old to play a high school student. Michael Cera plays himself like he does in pretty much everything.
He's really funny in this.
And see, one thing that resonates is like they're all bad people, but I think the bad thing that resonated for me was I realised how much of a bad person I was because they think and talk exactly the same. Particularly when they're like that clip I played before this song where they're on the soccer field and the dude's like, come on. He's like, it's only soccer. And then he goes, hey, remember that time you pissed yourself? Because that was 8 years ago. And he's like, people don't forget. And one of my mates actually wet himself in year 7.
And you don't forget.
And to this day, we still bring it up.
And that's Dave Franco as well.
That's Dave Franco.
That was young Dave Franco. I mean, he's still young.
Basically,
but even younger.
A lot of this crew and cast all fell in love in Freaks and Geeks. And they just stuck together through a lot of magic.
Comedy squad, the Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, they're all in there.
It's the Apatow, basically. Evan Goldberg, who's the creative writing side of the Seth Rogen.
Makes them hilarious.
And I like that Seth Rogen was still in the movie with Bill Hader as the police.
Because
they're so good in it. Yeah, and that police duo is fantastic.
And one thing I love, because of like the SNL thing, Bill Hader's like one of best mates with Andy Samberg.
Yeah.
And this actually opened the same weekend as Hot Rod.
Right. Yeah, Hot Rod was fantastic.
I absolutely love that film. But it was an absolute financial failure. And the funniest thing was, like, it came out, and in LA, the film comes out Friday, then Sunday night, the numbers get released to be put in the papers on Monday morning. And basically, it was like, this had something like a $40 million opening weekend.
Yep.
And I think Hot Rod made basically 1/10 of what it was worth in the opening weekend. So Andy Samberg pretended that he'd been away and had no phone signal for the weekend. So he kept messaging Seth Rogen and Bill Hader, hey, have you seen the number? How did I do?
That's really good.
Can we go celebrate tonight?
I feel bad for Samberg. It seems like his movie, like, I really liked Popstar. I don't know if you guys have seen
I
Popstar.
really loved Popstar.
But that didn't do well as well. Like, I feel bad
that Mona Lisa song was fantastic. It's basically about how Mona Lisa's so ugly, but he doesn't get one. It's a great song.
Yeah.
Seal makes jokes about how he got all his acne scars.
It's so good.
A great film. It's just a big payout of basically Justin Bieber.
Right.
Check it out. Don't just do.
I really like it. Yeah. I like mockumentary style movies. So that he has a new one that was a HBO special about like Tour de France. I can't think of what it's called, but John Cena's in it to talk about wrestling, and he's fantastic in it.
That sounds fantastic.
You should look that one up. I can't think of what it's called. Tour de something.
All right.
Yeah. It was a HBO special like movie.
Awesome. So, looking at the clock, we should probably move on to our next
we're
film.
doing Superbad. Cool.
Yeah.
Watch it. It's awesome.
Watch
hilarious. Made a star of Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
This is Dave's Video Graveyard. The Lost Boys from 1987, directed by a director that has made one of the greatest and one of the worst films on earth, Joel Schumacher. Why did you pick this film, Jonah Rock?
I'm a fan of, obviously, horror movies, especially vampire movies, and this is probably my favourite vampire movie, if it wasn't for the next movie we'll talk about that got released.
Do the two Coreys have anything to do with your love? Because that's a big part of my love of this film.
And Kiefer. He killed it in this movie, so... when I think of Lost Boys, I think of him first.
If you were to read into a lot of the behind the scenes thing, he actually bullied everyone on this, and also
that makes me like him even more.
Also, while making Stand By Me as well, he absolutely
I could see
was
that
a nightmare, and he reckoned it added to the character. But a lot of other people were like, he was in a bad place and just being a massive dick. But The Lost Boys is such a classic vampire film.
Yeah.
There's no glittery vampires whatsoever.
No, thank God.
Yeah. And 80s, just that 80s feel again.
Oh, you can't get much more 80s than the Boardwalk concert with the muscly guy playing
the saxophone.
It's one of the most iconic 80s
It is. Yeah. I don't know. I remember being a kid and seeing it and being like, oh, this musty guy. Like, what's going on?
They made some really terrible sequels, being The Thirst.
Yeah, I can't watch
there's actually a part in the third one where they go back to Santa Carla and there's a busker on the street. And it's the saxophonist wearing the same stuff and the big chain, but
amazing.
He's super fat.
Really? Oh, no,
and I'm like, don't.
That's pretty good.
I did enjoy that, but it's such a bad film. Even for a film with Tom Savini in it. It's terrible.
Tom Savini
He's in the third one.
I met him, you know.
Oh, there you go.
Much.
I didn't realise you'd met him.
Yeah.
We just spoke about not meeting people.
Haven't met him.
And this is the only film that I can stand Jason Patric in, because other than this, to me, he's the ruiner of the Speed franchise.
Yeah.
Or the fact that they had it on a cruise ship might be the ruiner. I'm going to blame him.
I mean, he was a bit of a heartthrob here in The Lost Boys, I think. You know, girls would have liked him back then.
Yeah. I remember when they had when he was one of the characters on Entourage playing himself, and apparently he was just a massive dick, and that's what he really liked. There's not too much to say about this film. Basically, two brothers move to a new town with their mum, who's recently divorced. Move in with their pop in Santa Carla because it was meant to be. It's actually Santa Monica. But the town didn't want to be known as because in the film it's the lost children capital of the world. No, the murder capital of the world.
It's got some vampires everywhere.
Yeah. And so many great one-liners, so much 80s style in it.
Classic scenes in this one.
I remember it had the In Excess Jimmy Barnes song in it.
It did, yep.
And it just blew my mind to hear Jimmy Barnes in like a, not at the time knowing about the film Working Class Man. But anyway.
I think it also has, to go with like the Drive theme, a really iconic jacket in it as well. So
yes.
The costume design was awesome for this movie.
I spent a lot of time in my early teens confused and wanting a long earring.
Why do I want one of these?
This film's fantastic. I can't say that enough. There's so many iconic scenes that have been redone not well. I love when the vampires hang below the train as it crosses the bridge. They had a big trouble with the budget of showing the vampires flying. That's why we got a lot of the cameras flying scenes.
Oh, by the point of view.
They pretty much just run out of money at that point. And
well, it made it more effective.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I like
not
that.
Seeing them, so it made it scary.
Well, less is more, when particularly in horror movies. It's one thing, if you go back now, it wouldn't even register as a horror movie, I don't think, with the modern audience, because it's just a feel-good... It's just a teen comedy or comedy. Yeah.
Vampires on motorbikes. It's cool.
Yeah, it's a badass film. It really is.
And everyone in it was like well known for their like a lot of John Hughes collaborators and stuff.
Yeah.
Diane Wiest is the mum. She was in Parent, the Rob Reiner films and stuff. And the two Coreys were in it.
Which one's your favourite?
Probably Haim when it comes to acting, but Feldman when it comes to overall films, and what a train wreck that he can. And I'm not even talking about his controversy. I'm talking about his music career.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
And also he's two different Ninja Turtles. So by rule, I have to follow.
But the Frog Brothers in this movie are really cool.
That's right. Now, speaking of vampires, your final choice on tonight's film is, I will say, the most refreshing... I'll say it properly. The most refreshing and original vampire film I think I've ever seen.
Yep.
And it is What We Do in the Shadows. And have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. I've heard it's great. I really need to watch it.
Yeah. It's one of those movies... So, being a pro wrestler, I have other pro wrestlers from interstate come and stay with us a lot. And I usually throw on like movies, but I always end up putting this one on. If people haven't seen it, I'm like, okay, we'll watch that. And even though I've seen it now like 50 times, I'll keep watching it. So, and now
I think this is going to get the attention it deserves, because obviously the director and star of this went on to direct and star in Thor Ragnarok, which is
amazing.
Yeah.
So this basically this is where he came from.
Yeah.
Well,
him and Jermaine Haley. It's so self-aware and so clever when it comes to the vampire genre. It pokes fun at other vampire things. I love that there's the way there's a group of people you don't get along with, and there's just that unspoken hate.
Yeah.
The funniest thing for me is the way they get along in this film with werewolves.
Yeah, so good. It's fantastic.
They always come across.
And Reese Darby is the main werewolf as well.
And it's so funny because whenever they interact with each other, it's like when you find, like, in high school when your footy team runs into on the street another footy team, and there's that unspoken, like, waiting for something to happen and stuff. And like, what'd you say? And, like, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right.
There's scenes where they turn into bats to have a fight, and because it's 4 different vampires that live together in a share house, and
in New Zealand, and
they get a new tenant that's not a vampire, and basically they show him all about their life, and one's like an old Nosferatu style vampire. They're all different eras of vampires, and it's done so well. And as I said, from the director of Thor Ragnarok, so you've definitely got to check it out.
Taika, the director of Thor, so people obviously loved the Korg character, I think, in Thor. And the one-liners that he does have, in this movie, there's a bunch of them from all of the characters that you end up saying to yourself. Yep. So,
and what I love is they turn someone newly into a vampire. They basically teach him vampire ways. But his favourite meal is chips.
Yeah.
And as a vampire, he can no longer eat. Yeah. And so it's so funny. Like, as the film progresses, he gets less and less enthused. He's like, I don't get to do sunbathing, which was my favourite. I don't get to eat chips. And I just love, he's like, something like, don't be a vampire, shut. Don't believe the hype.
And they take from a famous scene in The Lost Boys with the worms.
Yeah.
And it's funny. They say biscotti instead of spaghetti.
You're
like, you're biscotti.
You're eating worms, Michael?
Yeah.
He tries to do it to a food that doesn't look like worms.
He's like, it
doesn't work on food that doesn't look like worms.
And one of them does the same thing, but with the penis. He's like, your penis is now a snake. And it's like,
this film sounds awesome.
You've got to check it out. It is. The first time I saw it, I turned it off. I was like, no, this isn't for me. But then I grew a respect for it because it really is so many hilarious one-liners, and you miss a lot of them too because it's all mostly improv, like you say. It's so
humor.
quick fire that you miss some of the jokes and then you revisit, and it's fantastic. Jonah Rock, thank you so much for taking us through your 12 favourite films.
No worries.
You want to give us a quick rundown on what you're doing locally, wrestling-wise?
So locally, I wrestle for a company called Wrestle Rampage. I'm also the head coach at the dojo. If you go to WrestleRampage.com, you can find out all the information about it. We do have a tryout on Thursday, which is open to anyone to come and try out. I would not advise it unless you have done lots of squats and lots of push-ups.
Damn. Well, I was going to come along.
I was into that point. Jonah, thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show.
No, thank you.
We might finish things the way we started here on The Graveyard. This is Dave's Graveyard. See you next week.